a lot of times you'll hear a kid say, well, they're trying to change who I am. And my response to that is, I'm not trying to change who you are. I'm trying to break down the walls that you've built to save yourself, to protect yourself. I just want to see them authentically. And so when that moment happens, it's beautiful when you start to see the client actually shine through.
Personally, I like to build the relationship. I think the relationship piece is super important. A lot of these kids struggle with secure attachment, and if I can be a secure attachment figure for them, where if I come consistently and I show up in a way that they can rely on, they know how I'm going to show up every day, then it creates more safety in the relationship, and then that in turn then opens up for them to feel safe to do more of that deeper processing.
Our staff are, and especially many of our supervisors, are some of the most responsible and compassionate people that I have ever had the privilege to work with. It's been amazing to work with many of them. They're very encouraging. They understand when, students need a break. It's been great to be able to hear that. And to see that compassion come out in different ways, whether or not it's, well, hey, it doesn't seem like you're doing that well, kiddo. Let's just go on a walk for your session today. Let's just go play basketball. Let's play checkers for an hour or something. Let's just do that today instead.
I think people hear therapy and they feel like it's all talk therapy, but we do all kinds of therapy here. We do EMDR and equine therapy and adventure therapy, and talk therapy is probably the least of what we do. And the kids seem to really enjoy that, in that it's not boring. Sometimes the kids have been in treatment for so long they can talk around you. So getting them out of the office is a good way to handle that as well, because boy, they know how to say the words and walk the walk, but they're certainly not implementing it inside.
I do a lot of equine therapy, and I'm actually trained in equilateral EMDR. So we do EMDR in the corral with the horses, which helps because when you're sat in an office doing EMDR, oftentimes it leads to like flooding and we're blown out of our window of tolerance. So when we can get away from the four walls and be out in the corral, we can actually like move through trauma a lot more fluidly, and it's a bit easier too. So I've found that to be a really powerful tool.
We don't want these kids to feel like, if I don't do this, then I'm going to get punished. No, we want you to understand and realize that if there are things that, we're hoping that you'll do or you're supposed to do, that you'll see there are natural consequences to that. And that, hey, if you put in the effort and you go ahead and do this thing that, you gotta do as part of learning how to become a healthy, independent individual, you're going to be able to learn how to do that in a way where you'll see, oh, this is rewarding. I had an experience like that recently with a client where, they were very distressed about whether or not they could have something that they had worked towards, and there was a little bit of a change up in what they were expecting as far as this potential privilege would go. And staff put them on the phone and they called me, and I try to be pretty reachable for all my students, that sort of thing. And this student called me and was able to kind of regulate after a little bit on the phone, and then ended up using some skills, and we talked it through about how these things could go. Made sure that it was a collaborative experience between that student and myself, and then I sat down and asked them, well, how do you feel right now after this call? And they said, well, I feel happy. And I said, well, why? And they said, because I advocated for myself and it works sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of learning to become a healthy, independent individual, is learning that you can work together with other people and that sort of thing.
A big part of the family work that we do here, I think, is just the communication of do you hear what this person is saying, both the kid and the parents, and just for them to be able to slow down and talk, because so many of them are coming to us from being in crisis and just like nonstop chaos. And so we're able to slow down and start to really access empathy too with each other. So just being able to hear each other and hear each other's perspectives with the safety of space too, right? It's very, we're not at home and having to dive into those things. We're able to slow down and connect.
Many times I will refer back to what the client was like at the beginning, so that I can give them that progress look, because day to day you never see what your changes are and what you've done. So I can say, do you remember when you first came and you were you were really upset and you got really dysregulated really easy and you broke all those things. Look at you now. Look at the difference that's happened. That's something that's really helpful for the kids to have someone to just step back and say, just look at your progress, because we don't see it day to day. The kids have a hard time even recognizing it, and sometimes they don't even think they've done anything until you can point that out.
Even though the journey's different for everyone, it can end in a good way, and it can lead to some really healthy and promising changes and lead to hope.